but I feel like you've done certain things. You're fair game. I'm gonna make fun of you.
I have to agree with that to some degree.
Right? Like if you are a serial killer, I'm allowed to roast you.
If you have done things either idiotic to yourself and have bared the consequences of those actions, or you're just a horrific person who has done nothing to give back to society,
Yeah.
then I say, sir, you are free game for someone to call you an asshole.
Exactly.
So,
for those of you wondering what the hell we're talking about and why we're talking about being bullies, we had someone tell us that we were being too mean to Paul Bernardo.
wild. And you know what? I tend not to be, I feel like you're the first person that usually sees our comments and stuff. We have definitely had people comment troll type comments in the past regarding certain prolific and notorious individuals we've covered in the past, which sometimes I'm like, okay, buddy, you're just looking for attention. Go hug your dad or something.
There's a difference between like you're being a troll and you're actually just stupid. Because I mean, like, we're allowed to make fun of Paul Bernardo.
Absolutely.
I'm going to continue making fun of Paul Bernardo. It's what gets me through the day, remembering that Paul Bernardo exists. It was probably Paul Bernardo saying that. He has like some fake account and he's just like, you're mean, I don't like you.
Probably. And you know what? If you get off throughout your day by stopping and commenting on people's YouTube channels, then I guess that's all I have to say about you, sir.
Thanks for the view, bitch.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it helps with our engagement.
Right?
It's really no skin off my back.
I'm fine with it. Did you hear that?
Ooh, there's some ASMR for you guys.
Ooh. All right. Shall we start the show?
I mean, we may as well.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time this episode airs on Wednesday at noon, I will be sat watching my baby sister walk down the aisle to get married to the love of her life. So I love love, and we're very excited for this. So yeah, she's getting married in the mountains, and it's gonna be beautiful and gorgeous and wonderful.
So exciting.
I am stoked. As big sister,
you're proud.
I'm so proud.
Yeah, man.
She's gonna look stunning.
Oh, I can't wait to see the pictures.
I think it's gonna be real good.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess we can start the show now.
No, please go on.
I was gonna just say, from what it sounds like, we've got some like happier stories today.
That's one way to put it.
I mean, sort of.
Mine, you know what? Let's start the show and then I'll tell you about mine.
Let's get into
mine
it.
are about love.
Oh.
But not in a good way.
Oh.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dina.
And I'm Charlotte.
Welcome to the Grim Curriculum Extra Credit. What is up, friends? Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
You know, I'd say we've both found love. We're both happy. Your sister has obviously found love. But my kind of general theme with my topics today is about people who are unlucky in love.
Oh, that makes me sad because I love love. I often put out this very sort of hard, no nonsense, like romance exterior. Mm-hmm. I love romance.
I love
love. Whenever my friends are in love or like I see little old couples holding hands.
Oh my God, I know.
Oh, that shit does it for me. It gets me through the day.
I'm a sap, and I'm like a newfound sap too. Like, so I mean, it's I love it.
I love it, but it makes me sad when I hear unlucky in love.
I'm gonna start today off then because I got a fun one for you. Okay. This one has a plot twist that you may not see coming.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Jealous wife stabs her husband multiple times after finding pictures of him having sex with another woman.
This sounds very much like another story I feel like we covered on Extra Credit a while back.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it happens.
It happens. Let me tell you about it. So this was January 2021.
Okay.
A woman named Leonora R., that's all we know her as,
okay,
stabbed her husband named Juan multiple times on his legs and arms. So what happened was she went through his phone. Don't go through your partner's phone. If you're going through your partner's phone,
something has gone wrong.
You're already fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're at that point, things aren't good. So anyways, she looked through his phone. She found photos of Juan having sex with another woman.
Oh no.
So he's asleep at this point. She wakes him up. She's like, "What the fuck did you do?" And she just starts stabbing him over and over and over. She stabbed him something like 37 times.
Dang.
And she's insulting him and she's freaking out. And finally, she is stopped by him. He's able to get the knife from her and he's like, "Leonora, what photos are you talking about?" And she shows him the photos and she goes, "This bitch." And he looks at the photos and he says, Leonora, this is you 10 years ago."
Oh my God.
So,
Lenora, that is embarrassing.
yeah, so I guess she done look the same way she used to the point where she was not recognizable to herself. In the photos, she looked a lot younger, of course. She was wearing makeup, she had her hair did, and so much so that she thought it was a whole other woman. Wow. Luckily, he survived. He is okay. Police were notified of a domestic dispute after neighbors heard screaming and shouting inside the couple's home. The police in their town are saying that she didn't recognize herself immediately as the woman in the images was younger, thinner, and wearing makeup.
Wow. I mean, they do say, because of course, no human being has the experience of truly seeing themselves through their own eyes. How you see yourself in the mirror might not be how you perceive yourself in real life, but to not even recognize yourself at all.
So, if you're wondering why he had these photos like so freshly on his phone, he had been looking through his emails and found these images and was like, "Well, I'm saving these."
Whoa.
And it did not go well for him. She ultimately did not serve any time, but she did spend a fair bit of time in jail while this was all figured out. Luckily, they are okay. I do not know if they are still married.
Oh, that was my big burning question, because
Couldn't find the info.
On one hand, she didn't know, I guess.
Yeah.
She really thought, this bastard is cheating on me. Now, does that allow her the right to stab him 38 times? No, of course not. Guys, just leave. Leave the motherfucker if you think he's cheating on you. That's all I'll say about that. But then to be like, "Well, honey, I'm glad you were that like impassioned to come for me," I guess. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's hard to bounce back from. I feel like that might be even. Oh, Charlotte's
I'm
so outraged,
just like
she's kicking the camera,
swinging my feet here.
Honestly, I think like what is harder to bounce back from, your partner cheating on you or your partner stabbing you dozens of times because they thought you were cheating on them?
Do we know how old the couple was at the time of said stabbing?
Like middle-aged.
Oh my God, guys, at that point in your lives, it is not worth it.
No.
It is not worth it. You just go for milk and never come back.
That's just it. We talk about that all the time. Sometimes it's okay to go for milk and never come back. Sometimes it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. But Lenora, she's a fiery woman, I can tell.
Hey, maybe he likes it. I don't know. Glad no one died. I wish them the best. I hope that they've been able to resolve or otherwise recover. But yeah, if you find photos on your partner's phone because you decided to go through them, if you're going through your partner's phone, if you're already feeling like that's something you should do, you're probably going to find something you don't like. That is something I unfortunately have learned.
I think at a certain point, it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy.
It does.
You're expecting to find something bad, so you're gonna find something bad.
Exactly. Yeah, like I, gone through partners' phones when I was younger and stuff. I have learned my lesson because chances are it's going to be a bad time. But I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like, yeah, I think there was something else going on here because I don't understand how she would have gone from 0 to 60. And I mean, there's a difference between like, you fuck, throwing your phone at him, waking him up, from going to that to the stabbing.
The stabbing. It's giving Lorena Bobbitt.
It is.
Just a smidge. I feel like compared to that particular case, Buddy here got off fairly easy.
He did.
At least he lived and he wasn't missing any major parts of himself.
Yeah.
So I guess lesson learned is not to go through your phone and not to fly off the handle.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe just like take a better look at the photos.
Yeah, context is important, you guys.
Look for birthmarks. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no thank you. I thought since the last couple of episodes of Extra Credit we've done, I brought on some really gnarly, like, current event true crime stories.
Yeah.
Like last time, I think we talked about the balaclava rapist from
Mhm.
Edmonton. So this time, I thought I would go back to some old faithfuls. So y'all know I love nuclear testing.
We know you do.
So today I thought you guys would like to hear one of my favorite stories. It is the story of possibly one of the fastest man-made objects that was completely inadvertently the fastest man-made object. So this goes back to Operation Plum Bob. So back in the 1950s, 1957 to be exact, the US was doing some nuclear testing, as was many people on the globe. And they decided they were going to start detonating things all over the place just to see what the reaction was going to be. We've
Okay.
talked about this before.
Mhm.
In this particular nuclear test, it was a subterranean test. It was the first subterranean test. So they bored a hole 500 feet down and they detonated a nuclear bomb.
Shit.
And what happened was a jet of fire, something like 300 feet into the air, occurred. And they were like, wow, that's crazy. Unexpected. Apparently, the detonated yield was something like 50,000 times more than they were expecting.
Holy crap.
That's a lot to be off the mark. But the funny part of this story is the second test. So the first test was called Pascal A. The second test was called Pascal B. And in order to negate the fire stream that went 300 feet in the air, they're like, we'll just cap the hole, silly.
Duh.
So they put a 900 kilogram, that's a 2,000 pound iron lid, an iron manhole cover essentially, over the borehole where the massive nuclear bomb was detonated. As it detonated, this poor little 2,000 pound cap was not held down by anything. And it flew into the air at approximately 240,000 kilometers an hour.
What?
That is 66 kilometers a second.
Holy crap.
Now, the funny thing about this is there was a high-speed camera that was taking a frame a millisecond. It was about the fastest they could possibly create at the time. The manhole cover at detonation shows up on one frame.
Oh my God.
And even in that frame, it is blurred. So that's how they did the math and figured out that it's going approximately 150,000 miles per hour. Like I said, 240,000 kilometers an hour. After the detonation, they joked that it's likely in space.
That was going to be my first question is did they ever find it?
So they never did find it.
Oh my God.
Most scientists believe that it simply burned up in the atmosphere, which is the most likely.
Yeah.
But at that speed, it was accelerating approximately 6 times the Earth's escape velocity. So if it didn't burn up in the atmosphere, it is absolutely up there in space right now.
It's probably still going.
It was one of the first man-made objects that made it to space before, I believe, the Russian satellite Sputnik. So
wow.
Inadvertently, the States kind of won that race with a manhole cover if it actually made it to space.
Oh my God.
Nuclear testing is one of those things where it's such a humongous thing and it can be very scary. We've talked about it before, but this is just one of those goofy little things where it's just you can't help but laugh at the idea of this 2,000 pound iron manhole cover just blinking out of existence.
Sometimes I wonder, like, all of these experiments that they did, how many of them do you think they did just because they thought it'd be fun?
Well, there's certain ones, for example, and this, I'm sorry, guys, trigger warning for animal cruelty here. Around the same time when the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, which we have, again, talked about before, when they were doing certain detonations, they would hang, like live pigs in different situations, wearing different kinds of suits, materials to see what.
Pictured a pig in an actual suit.
Literally though, and anything from like normal human clothes to specialized materials just to
Oh my
see
god.
what the reaction would be to various forces. And there's even things where they tried to do like an airburst detonation for the first time, and they had the photographer directly under the airburst looking up into the sky at it, being like, yeah, just take pictures, you'll be fine, it's an airburst.
They weren't.
They weren't. I mean, they didn't pass away at the time, but they did pass away years into the future with massive like complications and cancer and all
Oh my
this sort of stuff,
god.
of course. But yeah, so it's known as the missing steel bore cap. And yeah, one of the quote from Robert Brownlee, who was one of the head scientists at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, he joked that the best estimate of the manhole cover speed from the photographic evidence that it was quote unquote going like a bat.
Well,
which I assume means going like a bat out of hell.
yeah.
Which,
wow.
yes. So, yeah, just a fun little nuclear testing fact for you guys today.
I love that.
Yeah.
My next story is also about more love.
Oh, we're just bringing it back. I like it.
Yeah, the opposite of it, I guess. This
Twisted
was
love.
on Sunday, July 28th, so not too long ago.
Whoa, okay.
In Georgetown County, South Carolina, a 27-year-old man and 25-year-old woman were taken into custody for punching each other during an altercation over unseasoned chicken.
Well, I've had some people's unseasoned chicken, and I can say, you know what? Maybe this is not the extreme reaction you think it is.
Georgetown County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to a residence on Cody Lane regarding an assault in progress. Upon arrival, deputies learned that Hope Harper asked Anthony Harper why he didn't, quote, season the chicken that was cooking so it could crust up. Anthony Harper apparently told Hope, I know how to cook, and Grammy was going to season the chicken. Hope Harper allegedly then called him a dumb dog, so he responded by pushing her and punching her in the face several times.
Whoa!
Reportedly, a third person got involved in the dispute, but then a fourth person used a 9mm handgun to fire a shot into the ceiling as a warning to stop the argument. One of the other people involved was reportedly restraining Anthony. Then,
there's more?
Hope Harper reportedly picked up a steak knife and started swinging at Anthony, but Anthony managed to flee to another room. Apparently, then their grandmother took a broom and began trying to move Hope away from Anthony. He then ran out of the room again and sprayed Hope in the face with Raid bug spray. She got the can away from him and retaliated by doing the same.
Oh my god. And I bet some of y'all out there thought your Sunday dinners were freaking crazy with the family. My god.
So records show that Hope and Anthony are both being charged with third-degree assault and battery. They have both been bonded out of the Georgetown County Jail, but they are planning to press charges against each other.
Wow. I would say that got out of hand real fast.
You know what I wondered though is something like that, because like stuff like this, like you're right, it gets out of hand real fast. I feel like this all happened in like 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it just like escalated horrifically.
Whenever I think of a situation like this where it's like this and this and this, I'm a big old nerd, and we all know this, and I like to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure a few of you out there do. As y'all know, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, when you get into a combat situation, a round of combat is classified as about 6 seconds. And so it's like, okay, so you know, your paladin moves and then your sorcerer moves and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So as each action is happening kind of simultaneously, it's all happening fast.
Oh,
you know, like someone throws something, someone retaliates, and it goes I want to see this in like a Guy Ritchie movie in like slow motion happening. You know what I mean? Holy shit.
Yeah. So we'll find out what happens with them, but they didn't have a very good weekend.
I don't think their relationship is going to be surviving this poor unseasoned chicken.
I mean, who knows?
It seemed like there was a lot of people involved.
a lot of people involved. And I mean, grandma got involved. I think some like neighbors got involved. Buddy showed up with a gun. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot.
You know, it's giving Trailer Park Boys.
It
Like,
really
I feel
is.
like Cyrus just showed up and fired off a couple of shots, and Ricky's drunk in the background tussling with someone's grandma, and Bubbles is there too. And oh my God.
It's bad. But like I am the nosy neighbor. I don't know about you.
Oh, I would be out on my porch with my ear turned for sure.
Yeah, there's been a few times where both Steve and I will have our head almost out the window because we're listening and we're like, what's going on?
I mean, not I don't know, maybe last year at some point, it was a Tuesday night at 1:30 in the morning, and Buffy sleeps on the bed with us, and she gets up, goes to the front living room and starts barking, and we're like, okay, this is weird. She doesn't usually do this. Meanwhile, the neighbors are getting into it in the middle of the street.
Oh shit.
So there's Buffy pressed up against the glass, and then me and Cody pressed up against the glass, and we're watching this all unfurl in the street around us. And we do not live in a particularly sketchy area.
No, your area is very quiet.
It's very quiet for the most part. It's like senior retired couples. There's a few families and stuff like that, but it was just like, even as much as we were mad because it was 1:30 on a Tuesday and we both had to work the next day, we were like, what is happening?
I'm nosy, but also I'm just like, what if I am the key to solving this case? What if something goes down and they need my witness testimony? I'm doing the world a favor by being nosy.
Absolutely, because you never know. I mean, things escalate very, very quickly. 1 minute you get two dudes shoving each other out in the street, and then somebody pulls a weapon or something, and then suddenly you're having to make an eyewitness statement.
Right?
So I think there's a fine line between being cautious and careful and just being a nosy Nelly.
I'm a nosy Nelly.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
You know what? I want to know. I pay enough. I pay high rent so I can know. It gives me the right to snoop.
I love that.
It's just me in my bathrobe, glass of wine, just watching the neighbors being like,
It also pays to know someone in your street or in your neighborhood who knows everybody. And one of our neighbors, bless his heart, he knows everything. So whenever anything happens, we immediately go to him and we're like, what happened? And he's like, oh, let me tell you.
Well, this actually, I'm getting way off track here, but the other weekend, there was this dog that was barking. And it turned out, I think someone had abandoned him.
Oh.
But it was really sad. And there were probably like 5 or 6 different groups of neighbors that were all like working together to figure out where this dog was. Because you couldn't see him, you could just hear him.
That's so wholesome.
And everyone was kind of just like piecing together little pieces of the story. I'm asking this neighbor what's going on. Someone else is asking me. We're trying to figure it out. Steve and I are walking around the area. Everyone is just like in full-blown investigative mode. But because of that, we were able to find the doggy and got him some help.
I love that. And I do feel, again, this is getting wildly off topic, but a lot of times in cities and more urban areas, you live so close to your neighbors, but don't know anybody at all. No one ever talks. It's a surprise whether or not you even say good morning or hi if you see them. So to see everyone kind of come together as a community to, you know, save a dog or what have you, it's a nice feeling. I feel like that doesn't happen enough anymore.
And you're right.
I don't know if this is really a segue or not, but speaking of houses.
I love it. Okay, go on.
So my parents were in the UK for the last couple of weeks. My dad went back with my mom for a regimental reunion. My dad was in the army. And the reunion itself was in York, which is a very, very old city in the north of England, in Yorkshire, believe it or not. It's known as one of the most haunted cities in Europe.
I've heard this.
Yes, it's amazing. There's ghost walks. It's fantastic. We will go one day and we will go do the ghost hunting and the ghost walks.
Yes.
But I thought since they were there and they were sending me pictures of the beautiful cathedral and they stayed in this old hotel that was just stunning, I just wanted to talk about the most haunted house in the most haunted city in Europe. That is the Treasurer's House. And I'm not going to go too deep into it because it has a lot of ghosts. Apparently, there's ghosts in the garden. There's a gray lady that is said to haunt it. But my favorite ghosts in the most haunted house are the Roman ghosts.
Okay.
Because York was founded by the Romans way, way back in the day. It was called Jorvik in those days. And so throughout Treasurer's house, there have been several reports and sightings of these Roman ghosts clomping throughout the house. So
I'm looking this house up while you're
yeah, absolutely. So, the first recorded mention of Roman ghosts in the treasurer's house was by a female guest who was staying, and she went down to the cellar on the hunt for some more wine. They were having a party that evening. And as she went down into the cellar, she was barred by a man who she thought was dressed in a Roman soldier's uniform, which she thought was really strange because it wasn't a dress up party, but she didn't think anything of it. But he absolutely would not let her in the cellar. So she turned around, went back to the host, and was like, "Excuse me, there's some man in costume that's not allowing me to fill up my wine. What the hell?" And her host was like, "There is no such man here."
Whoa. This house is crazy looking.
Yeah, it's beautiful and old, and it's simply fantastic. Our next guest to see a ghost of a Roman soldier, he was actually a young apprenticed heating engineer named Harry Martindale, and he had gone down to the cellar to knock a hole through one of the bricked ceilings as part of a boiler installation. They were modernizing the home in 1953, and he keeps hearing a trumpet blast going off once in a while, but he just thinks it's the radio somewhere. And then he hears it a third time, and it's coming from the other side of a wall. And as he looks, a soldier literally comes straight through the wall.
What?
And he said the soldier walked through the cellar and disappeared into the opposite wall. Following behind the soldier came another riding a horse, and behind them were more soldiers, two abreast, at least 20 in total. And he said, as he stood back in horror, they just walked in front of him. He said they were not spectral, they looked like they were there.
Oh my God.
And he said the funny thing was, though, they were only visible to the knees because the road below was much lower than the cellar floor was. So they were walking on what would have been the road, but the cellar floor was higher. He said they appeared, like I said, real and solid. He was quite terrified that they would be able to see him and react to him, but they never did. He could hear what they were saying, but couldn't understand what they were saying because they were speaking in Latin and he did not speak Latin. And then, as he recovered and ran quickly upstairs, he sat down out of breath. The warden at the time came across him and, seeing his obvious shock, said, "By the look of you, you've seen the Roman soldiers."
Damn. So that sounds like a residual haunting. They were just on replay.
Yes, and several people have seen them since. Poor Harry didn't even share his story with anyone else because he was afraid that people would think that he was like off his nut, or drunk. But yeah, it wasn't until excavations uncovered the original Roman headquarters building that anyone paid any attention to his story. So the Roman headquarters building was in the same place that the new house was built.
Wow.
And yeah, so they've been seen several times over the years. The Roman soldiers, or the ghosts of the Roman soldiers, are very popular in York. They tend to walk on like the city wall that they built all those years ago and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a place that I really want to go together to hunt for ghosts because apparently they're very active.
I want to go on a ghost hunt so bad.
Absolutely.
Even like, we'll start here, we'll start small.
Yeah.
We'll work our way up.
International ghost hunters.
Yes. Please.
I would love that.
That would be like, yeah, I'd be, if I just did that in life and nothing else, I'd be like, I've done it. I'm good.
Absolutely. Because we talk about ghosts and spooky things and cryptids and unusual phenomena all the time. And while I'm not a full-on believer, I think it's fascinating, and I would love to be proved wrong. I want someone to give me evidence. I want to see the ghost. I would love that.
That's the thing. I don't consider myself a full-on believer, but I want to be one.
I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
But I'm also open-minded as well. I think there is a lot out there that is either A, we don't understand yet, but maybe we will at some point, or B, we're never going to understand and it's always going to be magical and spooky and paranormal.
I'm also like very easily convinced when it comes to that stuff, so I'd like take any excuse to be like, it was a ghost.
Honestly, whenever I see people using like spirit boxes, to communicate and stuff, and it's flicking through the radio channels and stuff, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But realistically, if I was sat right here, right now, with a spirit box in front of us and it said something, I'd be like, ah!
We should get a spirit box.
It kind of scares me.
I know I live here. I shouldn't do that.
I have played too much Phasmophobia.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. And I'm not even afraid. I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I'm the van coward. I stay in the van and I look at the screens.
You're the helpful supervisor.
I am. And then everybody dies and I go, okay, I guess what the ghost is, and then we'll go home.
And I did a good job.
I lied. I lived.
Oh my god. That being said, if you are listening and you have a ghost story that you want to share, we are probably going to be doing another episode of Grim Encounters sometime in the not so far away future. So send us your stories at thegrimcurriculum@gmail.com. We have 4 episodes of it. 4
or 5 for sure. And I think you're right. We are due for a new one. They're some of my favorite ones to do.
Me too.
I especially love hearing your guys' stories because y'all are amazing. And then the one we did where we reached out to Reddit authors.
Yes.
Oh my God, those were so fantastic. I would absolutely love to do one of those again. So if you have stories of your own that you'd love to share, or of just like a spooky fictional story that you want us to read on the show, I'm down for either of those things. So send them our way.
If you have written a spooky story you want to share, and it doesn't have to be ghosts. It can be something about anything unexplainable. It can be UFOs. It can be one time your neighbor was scary. It really doesn't matter. We just want to hear them because I love those stories. And you know what? If you have a cryptid story, bonus points, baby.
Absolutely. We'll be covering a new cryptid, I think, probably in the next little while. We're due one, I think.
Yeah, I'm always down for a good old cryptid.
Yeah, you betcha.
All right. Well, it's time for our next strange and unusual death. This brings us to July 8th, 1993, with 38-year-old Gary Hoy.
Okay, Gary, what happened? Gary
was giving a tour of the Toronto Dominion Center to a group of students. And he had this thing where he really loved, this is a big, big, tall building.
Okay.
He really loved showing people how strong the windows were.
Okay.
So he would demonstrate how strong they were by throwing himself at the windows.
Oh, Gary.
And being like, can't break these windows. All right. So apparently on this occasion, he threw himself at the window, kind of bounced off. Everything was fine.
Okay.
And he was like, look how strong these windows are. The second time, he threw himself against the pane and it popped out of its frame and he tumbled down 24 stories to the courtyard below.
Oh my God. Do not tempt fate because fate has a sense of humor.
It does. It really, really does.
And you're not going to be the one that finds it funny.
You will not win. Sadly, his accident led not only to his own death, but it was also a contributing factor in the company closing down a few years later.
I can imagine, because who would ever trust your building after that?
Well, I mean, I get what he was trying to do. Sometimes, you're giving a tour, you want people to have a good time, you're putting on a little bit of a show, you want people to be entertained, but you don't need to throw yourself at windows.
No, especially ones that are not designed for you to do that. I mean, if you've been to, I'm not sure if the Calgary Tower has the glass floor situation, but I know the CN Tower does in Ottawa, and you're supposed to be able to like jump up and down and stuff on top of that. I'm not someone who's typically scared of heights. You would not catch me tempting fate.
I'm not scared of heights really, but I feel like if I was on that, I would be on my hands and knees crawling.
There's something about it. It just triggers the little lizard part of your brain that's like, we're not supposed to be up this high.
Yeah.
If we were supposed to be up this high, we'd have wings.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mess with gravity.
Oh, poor Gary.
Poor Gary. Very sad. Apparently he was a very nice guy.
Oh, rest in peace, Gary.
Rest in peace, Gary. If you have a strange and unusual death you want us to talk about, email us, thegrimcurriculum@gmail.com. You know how to find us. Let us know. Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, they can
They're
be
terrible.
ancient. Yeah, they can be ancient. They can be old timey. They can be modern.
Medieval.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat. As long as they're pretty wacky, that's kind of the name of the game here.
It really is. Yeah. So, as you all probably know, we just finished our 4-part series on Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. We are donating all of the proceeds from the podcast for this month, the month of August, to the Kristen French Child Advocacy Center Niagara. So we don't do Patreon shout outs on extra credit, but please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the Grim Curriculum. If you've been wanting to sign up, now is a really good time. You can also go to their website yourself and make a donation in your own name. Really great organization. You can choose what part of it your money goes towards. There's a lot of really good facets of what they do, but definitely something to check out and keep in mind if you are looking to put your money to a good cause. So go check out the website and
Yeah, absolutely. I will put it down in the description below as well, so you can find the link there. It's a fantastic cause. And like Dina said, they have many, many, many programs that they do, and you can pick which one that your money goes towards. It's a fantastic, fantastic group. And again, it's one of those little tiny silver linings that comes out of a very, very terrible situation. Yeah, fantastic cause. Go check it out.
Yeah. And also make sure you're following us on all the social media stuff, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We hang out on YouTube every Saturday at 12 p.m. MST, so make sure you're joining us. We had quite the little party last weekend. It was a good time, so come hang out with us.
Absolutely.
We are doing a little bit of a one-off story for the regular show this week. Kind of a mix between extra credit and the regular show. It's going to be more informational, but we're also going to go off script a fair bit, discussing bad boy who is all over the news, and I don't like him.
No, absolutely not. He is one scary, scary guy for sure. And I don't say that often, but I would not want to come up against this mean, mean, mean man.
And unfortunately, he is one of those people that the ladies, they seem to love him, and ladies don't love him.
Absolutely not.
Get it together.
But anyway, stay tuned for that on I was going to say on Thursday. We record on Thursday usually, but it'll be out on Saturday.
Yeah, and if you want to know who it is, we'll be posting his name on Patreon. If you sign up for the free tier, you will see it and see everything we talk about before we talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so I got nothing else to say. How about you, Charlotte?
I think we are donezo.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for listening. This has been the Grim Curriculum.
Extra credit.
Bye. Bye.